Garden State Film Festival, and we are here talking about the documentary, A Holocaust Journey, Lessons We Learned. Here to talk to us about it is Lisa Resnick. She is the director, producer, the key camera operator on this project. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today, and congratulations.
Oh, thank you. We're so happy and excited and thrilled to be part of the Garden State Film Festival since our film is so New Jersey connected.
Yes, I know. I'm so excited to talk about the making of it and just talk about this film because it's so powerful and important. And I'm really so happy that you guys made this documentary. So let's just get right into it. Can you tell everybody who you are again, your titles in this documentary, and tell us a little bit about a Holocaust Journey Lessons We Learned?
Sure. So I had previously made 3 short films, and then I was invited to join the trip. It was a trip planned by the director of the Holocaust and Genocide Education Center at St. Elizabeth University, Professor Harriet Seppenwall. And when I got to see the itinerary of the trip, I thought, oh my gosh, this is such a great learning opportunity. I'm going to bring my camera. So I brought my camera and I filmed the reactions of the students and the other trip participants, including a really renowned Holocaust survivor whose name is Pinka Scooter. I filmed the reactions, and then when I got back from the trip and I was looking at everything, I thought, why don't I show it to a colleague, Terrence Taylor, who's a fantastic editor. He looked at the footage and he said, I think we really have something important here. Let's try to turn the footage into an educational documentary. And that's what we've done. It took us a few years. It's a
Oh, wow.
time-consuming process, but I think our end result is a really good resource for learning about the Holocaust.
Wow. So when you decided to join the trip and videotape it, you didn't have in your mind that you were going to make this into a documentary until you met Terrence?
Well, I thought it could be a interesting footage to use, and then when Terrence looked at it with me, he said, "Yeah, I think we have really good material." And so that's,
Wow.
kind of
Oh my
how it
gosh.
happened.
And tell me a little bit about the college and the mission that you got. They took all these students and took them on a trip. Can you talk more about the mission and what the trip was?
Sure. So, Professor Harriet Seppenwall, who's recently retired, founded the Holocaust and Genocide Education Center at a Catholic college, the College of St. Elizabeth in Morristown. And the College of St. Elizabeth is now St. Elizabeth University, which is a big change for them. And it wasn't the first time, it was maybe the third time that Professor Seppenwall led her students on a Holocaust study mission. And this was in 2016. And the students were seniors. There was maybe one student, Mia Shavir, who was possibly had finished her freshman year. And for some of the students, this was their first international trip. And I think for Mia, it was her first time on an airplane. So it was very brave of these students to undergo a trip like this. It was a week long, and there were also members of the New Jersey community who decided to take the trip too. And sorry, just got a text. And
No.
it was really a very serious trip because each day we went on visits to Holocaust related sites, and we learned about the history of the Holocaust, the planning of the Holocaust, what happened, the variety of victims, because mostly the victims were Jewish, but there were also victims who were gypsies, who were homosexuals, and who were Black people, people who didn't fit in with the idea of the perfect type of person under the Nazis' idea of what a perfect person was. And we also met a Holocaust rescuer in Poland. It was really fantastic to hear the story of a woman whose family risked their lives to save a Jewish woman and a young Jewish woman. And we also learned about a pharmacist in Krakow, Poland, who saved a lot of victims, a lot of people who could have been victims of the Holocaust. So it was very interesting to hear that story too. Because for
What
all the
an
negativity of the Holocaust, there are some positive stories too.
Yeah. What
If you
an
if you wanted
impactful
to include.
trip. I can't imagine being on there and seeing all those in person, and then there you are reacting to all of it for the first time, traveling to Poland, Germany, and also filmed in New Jersey, getting it on camera. What was it like for you, videotaping all of this while like experiencing all this emotion yourself, getting all this information, getting all these tragic stories, being at the site while filming that? Like, what was that like for you?
Well, it was helpful to me to have the camera. If I didn't have the camera, it would have been more emotional because I was always, thinking about filming and getting the sound. Getting the sound was important too. So, I had some assistants on the trip who were helping with the equipment, and if I didn't have my camera, I think it would have been really, really difficult for me to be a participant on this trip. It was helpful
Oh, wow.
in terms of taking in all the tragedy of the Holocaust.
Mm. Wow. So since you
Mhm.
kind of just thought, okay, let me bring this camera and videotape what I see, all these
Mhm.
reactions, you didn't have it planned, the shots, it was just you holding the camera and videotaping what you saw?
Yes, I did have a shot list
Okay.
for certain visits. For example, when we went to the Majdanek concentration camp with Pinka Scooter, we had a shot list, although it was not so easy because it was walking and talking, and there were a
Mm,
lot of people, but we wanted to make sure that the trip participants got to hear Pincus, but also stayed out of shot of the camera.
mm.
Yeah.
Wow. And I want to talk about producing this. You and Terrence both produced this, and you got Pincus, a survivor from the Holocaust, and you said another person who helped rescue people. So, how did you guys find these people? How were they okay with being videotaped, having their story videotaped? Like, what went into producing this documentary?
So, we asked everyone to sign a release that participated in the trip, and everybody agreed that it would be a good opportunity to, film the students and themselves to, possibly make a film. And then when we got back and we looked at the footage, it was Terrence's idea to bring the students back together to hear them reviewing their reactions on camera because it was the point of the trip was, witnessing it and then being able to reflect on it later. So the students came together, as you see in the film, at the college and the Holocaust and Genocide Education Center and reflecting on what they took away. And we also had with us for that interview a trip participant who was the grandmother of a student who came on the trip, Brandy Garrick, and her grandmother, Anne Ryan-Smith. And it was really quite an experience to travel with that pair. The grandmother, Anne, had gone to the college, and so did her granddaughter. So,
Wow.
they were neat to talk to during the trip and then to hear them reflecting on it together and the meaning of the trip, because 'cause they're
Mm,
non-Jewish trip participants who didn't have a direct connection to the Holocaust, but wanted to learn more about, one of the worst genocides
mhm.
in history.
And this
Historical.
documentary provides that opportunity for so many people to learn more about the history, and that's one of the things I loved about this too. In producing this film, it looks like you guys got a lot of pictures and video and information. What was that process like, gathering all of that research?
Right, right, we wanted to include archival footage so that people would see what happened during the war, which, we didn't see what happened ourselves, but we, visited after the fact. So we saw ghettos where people were forced to live before they were sent to concentration camps. That was part of the planning of the Holocaust. And so we wanted to show, what it was like for the victims of the Holocaust to be congregated into these very small living spaces with hardly anything to eat. And a lot of people died even that way by lack of food and then by working conditions in the concentration camps, which were horrible. And being forced to be transported from ghettos into concentration camps. Sometimes people were forced to become um, prisoners and work in the concentration camps, forced labor, and sometimes they were sent right to their deaths without knowing what was going to happen.
Mm.
You know.
It's insane. I can't even wrap my head around that. But you guys also, you mentioned that this took 2 years, right, to make and to put together.
Well, more than that,
Oh
maybe
wow.
5 or 6 years. Yeah, it was a gradual process, and we sought out archival footage from a lot of it came from the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum.
Okay.
And,
Wow.
getting the rights to the archival footage was a time-consuming process, but it all worked out in the end.
Oh my gosh. And I mean, what kept you going? It's a 5, 6 year process. Obviously, it's an important story, but I can't imagine. And there was a pandemic going on. So much stuff is going on. Film isn't easy to put together in the first place. So what really motivated you guys to finish this documentary?
We wanted to make it available as an educational resource, and we saw that, like, starting in 2018, 2019, um, bigotry and anti-Semitism in general, bigotry in general and anti-Semitism was increasing. So we really felt, motivated to get the film finished for that reason, to try to combat bigotry and violent acts against different groups.
Hmm.
Because we know that when anti-Semitism rises, that discrimination rises too along with it. So we had the goal in mind for this to become an educational resource, and we worked with a teacher named Colleen Tambuschio, who has worked with the New Jersey Commission on Holocaust Education to help develop curriculum, and she developed a teacher's toolkit to supplement the lessons of the film. So we have created that as well.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Mhm.
And I want to talk a little bit about you, Lisa. You mentioned that you made 3 films before this documentary. Is that correct?
Yes, this was my fourth.
So, in honor of this documentary, Lessons We Learned, I'd love to ask you, what have you learned from making projects that you applied to this documentary? And what have you learned from this process, making this documentary, that you will apply to your next project?
Let's see. Well, filmmaking is a collaborative process, and it allows you to learn as you go and learn with others, with using their talents. And I made a film on children who are deaf and how they can learn to hear and speak. That film is called 95 Decibels. And then I made 2 dramatic short films. That's a dramatic film. Let's see. A Holocaust Journey is my first documentary, but I made a film on Simone de Beauvoir and Jean-Paul Sartre, which is an awareness-raising film about the French existentialists. I
Oh,
made a dramatic film on the publication of Ulysses by Sylvia Beach in Paris. And now my fifth film is a hybrid documentary that involves women behind the publication of Ulysses. And each of these has been a rich experience in terms
mm,
of working with others and conducting research and trying to tell the story in a way that will engage audiences to be interested, to learn, and to be, I guess, educated and entertained at the same time.
absolutely. So it sounds like collaboration is really important to you. Would you say that's one of the most important things to you when it comes to filmmaking, is collaborating?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
Yes.
and
And it makes
the
it fun too, because you get to meet new people like you
absolutely.
and me too.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll collaborate and work on something. I mean, I would love to work with you. It seems like you're really drawn to telling stories that educate people and bring awareness to really important history and like, oh yeah, I don't even know, but you could tell me better. What do you like about filmmaking? What stories do you like to tell?
Stories that are important that people might not know all that much about.
Hmm.
For
Absolutely.
example, the film that we made called 95 Decibels is a biographical story about my daughter, who's now 26, but when she was 1.5, we realized she couldn't hear. So, what was it like for parents to find out, parents who are hearing that your child is deaf, and what can you do about it? Should you bring your child up in the sign language world, or is there an alternative? So we told the story of our discovery that a child who's deaf doesn't need to just communicate in the sign language world, which has a lot of limitations. That child could learn to hear and speak. And so my daughter, who's now, she went to college, she works in the regular, I shouldn't say regular, she's in the hearing and speaking world without limitations. Like if she goes to the
Mm,
bank, she can talk to the tellers. If she goes to on a trip, she can communicate with in
mm,
any country in the world because English is a universal language. And she has since learned sign language, but she can communicate the way most people in the world do communicate, by hearing and speaking.
mm.
But it used to be that if you got the diagnosis that your child is deaf, you would think, well, my child can communicate, but only through sign language. And
Mhm.
that way, a child can only, or, who becomes an adult can only communicate through sign language, which has a lot of limitations.
Right.
But that's not really the case anymore with all kinds of technology.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I thank you for bringing stories that are not only close to your heart and close to home, but also can be so
Mhm.
impactful and resourceful for people watching it. And definitely we see that with the Holocaust journey, lessons we learned. We have to wrap up. So I want to tell everyone how they can see this wonderful documentary. And Lisa, we talked before this, you will be at the screening, correct?
Oh, yes, yes. In March, can't wait.
I
In
can't wait
Cranford.
too. I hope I get to meet you in person there, and everyone who watches A Holocaust Journey Lessons We Learn can meet Lisa. And let me tell you how you can watch it. It will be playing Saturday, March 25th, 10:30 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. in the Cranford Theater. So definitely check it out. Lisa, thank you so much again for taking time out to talk to us and for making this documentary. Congratulations to you and everyone involved.
Thanks. Can't wait to show the film in Cranford at the Garden State Film Festival.
Me too. We'll see you there. Have a great day.